I'm on TV. Welcome to a bit of company chat. Let's start the show.
Bit of company and a chat. A bit of company and a chat. Bit of company and a chat. What's better than that?
Hey Camerado, you're tuned in to a bit of company chat, and this is the one where we don't try to fix folk. Please join us in welcoming to the screen today's host, Kat.
Oh, and welcome to episode 6. Can you believe that? 6 episodes gone already of Bit of Company Chat. The one where we don't fix folk. Another live broadcast. I believe it's 7 o'clock already. It's only 5 minutes since we were doing this at lunchtime today. But hey, here we are. Again, strange times. Times when we formed lasting connections and relationships with people whose bottom halves we've never seen. Did I say the word bottom again? Yes, I did. We're a bit obsessed with bottoms in Camarados, it would seem. A time when we can wear virtual makeup and accessories, although I can assure you that everything I'm wearing today is fully analogue. A time when the world has been made to pause, while at the same time it's become a corona coaster of experiences, feelings and emotions. A time when we've been protected from the horrors that have been unfolding in hospitals across the nation, and that we don't really know the full impact of the experience of loss and change that many people continue to experience. And a time when working in many public sector organisations has led people to be able to connect with their inner pirate, rewrite some of the rules and cause some good trouble, but we'll have more on that shortly. Over the last few months, people from Camarados movement have shared their lived experiences of the pandemic. Camarados and People's Voice Media have trained a team of community reporters to collect stories through story spoon rooms, individual chats, and these we've woven into each of the episodes of Bit of Company Chat. And this evening, we're going to continue to reflect on the issues of loss and pause and change. Camarados is a movement of people from across the UK and the world who believe, and here we go with the pirates again, just as Golden Age pirates did, that having friends and purpose is the best way to get through tough times and to challenge the establishment and make their world a better place to be. Perhaps one of the most surprising things about pirates is that they treated those they captured with mercy and kindness in order to grow their movement. They co-created their own code for living and systems of universal income, equal rights, gay marriage. If you suffered loss, you were supported by the crew, received the same level of income and contributed to life on board in whatever ways you were able to. Again, a familiar Camarados principle. If you see someone having a difficult time, ask them to help you with something. Anyway, that's enough for the pirates for the minute. We've got a very short clip for you about Camarados.
Good morning, Camarado.
Good morning, Camarado.
How you doing?
Good.
People have that ability inside themselves to sort their own lives out, and I think what Camarados does, it gives people that human space to do that, and to do that together where everybody helps each other.
We are Camarados.
In a minute, I'm going to bring in this evening's guest, but first, just a quick reminder that later in the episode, we'll be talking wonky words and a bit of action. So please share your ideas about words and actions in the chat. Before we do move on to the guest, terrible joke, Math, yes. Why are pirates called pirates? Because they are... Nice try. Keep them coming. This evening's guest wanted to be introduced as the riffraff. True in so many ways, but the best sort of riffraff. To me, she's a true camarado and friend, someone who understands the importance of purpose. She's a long-term health and social care mischief maker, is not afraid to stand up and rewrite the stupid rules and wonky words, and generally causes good trouble. Welcome, Naomi.
Hi.
Hello. Look at that
Hi,
background.
Kat.
Hi.
Oh, I knew I'd do that. Beautiful light stand.
Brilliant. Lights,
Marvellous.
pirate flags, and what a great top. Troublemaker.
Yes.
Is that
From
you?
the charity bag. From the charity bag.
Charity bag. Wow. That's
Saved.
great. So, welcome, Naomi. You've spent many years working in systems, organizations, places where people's sole purpose is the organization's sole purpose, obviously, is to fix people. But one of the Camaradas principles, as we've been learning, is about no fixing, something that pirates understood quite well. So, yeah, any thoughts or reflections you want to kick us off with on that?
Yeah, and I suppose thanks, Kat. Thanks. It's really, really nice to be here, and it's really it does feel quite a privilege to be included with the Camarados work. I do really stick by the idea that I do feel like I'm riffraff, so I'm very, very honoured to be invited. I was thinking about this today, and I did get really sad when I was working in health and social care quite often, because I felt really disconnected from my values and wanting to be supportive of people in the right type of ways. And I got a bit lost, I think, for a while, and felt like I was a bit adrift. And that led me to be sitting in the middle of a kind of pause and of reflection and wondering what to do next, when the Pirates book came along. And it really was inspiring for me, and it helped me change my perspective. I knew that other people felt the same as I did, but it felt a little bit hopeless. So there was this time when I thought I could change things, or we could change things, and then that disappeared. And then I read the book and thought, well, if pirates could do things like that in an era when, execution and torture was really rife in the Navy, in the establishment, and they could make their way by just finding people who were kind of bounded together by their belief that there could be a different way outside the system. It seemed to really resonate with me, and it made a massive change in my outlook somehow. Which is really odd to say about just a book about some historical thing that people have talked about before. So it shouldn't have been that earth-shattering. And I think having people like you around who really got it and really went along with it helped me sort of move forward with that. So I've been on a really big journey, actually, and it's been quite a stormy sea. But I think I'm still on it, and I'm much happier now, because I feel like I identify as a pirate, and that somehow helps me manage things better.
Yeah, and I think during the lockdown and the pandemic, thanks for that. That's great. And I think during the pandemic and the lockdown, you've kind of found yourself in that funny space, haven't you, of working in the system or for the systems in terms of the work that you do, but also how do you respond on a very local level in terms of supporting people with some of the changes and things that are happening? How has that felt in terms of that tension, if you like, between the two different worlds?
Yeah, it is strange. I work now more with a big charity, and there's a lot of here comes a wonky word, thought leadership in that world. So there's a lot of blogs and amazing, intelligent ideas about what's happening for people. And actually, some of those are great. And I wouldn't disrespect those people who are really, getting down to what's going on. But literally being part of a mutual aid movement, or working with our local market, Radcliffe Market, to think about how we do slow shopping and deliveries with conversations that just a chat. Those kind of things really have inspired me. I felt I've been able to keep a foot in both camps, being alongside people and trying to help, but help in a way that recognises people are full of strengths and surprises and, amazing things that they offer. So I've had help just as much as other people have helped. I've helped other people, and that's been, again, a kind of reminder of how strong community and humanity are. And it's easy to forget. It's easy to lose track. Politics is so horrible, and feels so horrible to me, and so much despair in the world. But honestly, you remember how good most people are and want to be good and want to be supporting each other. It's great. And so having some chance to meet with, and I've met new people like Selva, and there's an amazing woman called Jane. There's these people I've never met them before. The pandemic brought us together. What a shock.
It's amazing, isn't it? So there's been so many great connections and relationships forged through the kind of virtual world, which has been great. I think as well, I mean, you touched on it a bit there, that there's something for me about seeing how people and communities have been able to respond and support one another, friends, neighbours, people within local communities, in a way that systems or services or organisations, charities even, have been trying to engineer for quite a long time now, and how frustrating that feels. Do you think we're at a point in time where that's going to shift with some of this, that we might be a bit freer to, or not, from your perspective? I don't know.
It's a really strange thing, Today, my sister said the neighbour had a fall and she was really worried about him, and she had to get the paramedics. And then she said he had no heating on in his house and she was really worried about him. And I went on the council website. I couldn't find, not my council, just in case I get in trouble, another council. I could not find any help at all. There was literally, are you eligible for help? That was the only thing I could find. And so instead, I went onto WhatsApp and asked a load of friends who were part of mutual aid and groups, and they started to come up with loads of suggestions. And I thought, well, that says it all. Yeah. We are going to go through some really difficult times. Councils are going to be massively cut to the bone. I don't think community should step in and take the strain, but at the same time, there are things that the community and voluntary sector do beautifully together. We really need to work this out together. We just can't expect one part of the system to carry it. But I have some criticism of the system as it is as well. And I think, community is where it's at, and I'm more than happy to try and support and grow with that. But I think we all need to be really reflective about what we've not been getting right, because we all are a bit shit sometimes. We have to accept it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And use that information.
Yeah, and Math's put a question in the chat there around how do we keep humanity and community after the pandemic? What does that mean in terms of future? I'm not suggesting that you answer that question now, but it's great. It's something that we need to be reflecting on and thinking about.
It's a great opportunity, though, isn't there? Because people will want to meet each other, want to see each other, and meet the people they spoke to before. And I think there'll be, in some areas, where people can, and it is a privilege to be able to help and do things, because you need to be able to also earn money and feed your kids and stuff. But I think where people they will want to do more.
Yeah, and it's interesting just to kind of as we wrap this section up, but thinking about the pirates and Golden Age pirates and how they responded to this, and actually it was that idea, wasn't it? They recognised that the establishment of the time was corrupt, that things weren't working well. There wasn't a strong sense of power, was in all the wrong places, and it was a struggle. It was a very difficult time for them in history, but they knew that the antidote to it, was to create a community that they wanted to be part of and belong to, and to support one another within that, rather than to try and directly go out and change the system. So they
we need that flag of hope, don't we, on the mast?
yeah, it's good. So
that flag of hope.
Yeah. So there's something there, isn't there, about how we what we do for ourselves and each other within the movement. I think. Yeah. Thank you. Really interesting. What have we got coming up next then, Hayley?
Then we all go.
I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy. I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy. I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy.
She's back. Aunt Sally. Have you seen much of Aunt Sally's words of wisdom yet, Naomi.
Very impressive. The way that woman can iron and multitask. I love her.
Puts us all, the rest of us, to shame, doesn't it? Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah. Let's hear Aunt Sally's words of wisdom.
Aunt Sally's words of wisdom.
So today we're going to be talking about how everything has been put on hold, how our whole lives have changed, and about the losses we've experienced during the pandemic. Many of us count down the days to our holiday. Over the last year, they've gone. Why don't you have a staycation instead and do some cooking of the place that you are going to? You might find you quite enjoy it. And then you reschedule your holiday for next year and it gives you something to look forward to. Many people find watching the news really raises their anxiety levels. Know what to do? Turn it off and then ask somebody in your family or a friend to tell you the really important pieces of news that you need to know. It'll really make you relax. Many people have missed out on really important occasions like a wedding, graduation, prom, or your first drink in the pub at 18. You're just going to have to find ways of celebrating in your own unique way. Happy birthday, Libby.
Cheers.
We're all experiencing the loss of going to the hairdressers or the barbers, and many of us are experiencing the mum cut. I'm sorry, mate. It'll grow back. Believe me. Many people have lost that daily and weekly routine of going out for a shop. It's all click and collect or deliveries. Oh, here's mine now. I'm really looking forward to that bouquet of flowers I've ordered. Oh, Home Pride self-raising flour. I guess I'll just have to bake a cake.
I like cake.
Aunt Sally's words of wisdom.
Brilliant. Cake. Cake is the answer. Cake.
I like cake.
I like cake. Right.
And mum cut. I love mum cut.
Mum cut.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Have your kids let you anywhere near their hair?
No. Oh no, good not.
They're a bit
Not
older.
that. They were definitely wouldn't let
Yeah.
me near them with a pair of scissors. Definitely.
Yeah. My youngest kid's had a dad cut a couple of times,
Yeah.
which is basically just let's shave it all off. But he's only 5 and he thinks it's quite fun. But I think he's watching actually. I suppose I should say hi, Sid. Hi, George.
Hi, Sid. Hi, Georgia.
They're upstairs. It was a little bit touch and go in rehearsal as to whether they would appear in the background, but we've managed to restrain them suitably. Distract.
At least it's night, and I've not got some postman banging on the window, which I get a lot. Nothing for me, obviously, but very distracting.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's so good to hear Sally's words of wisdom. Before we move on, just reminding people about wonky words, staycation, somebody's flagged up there as a wonky word, and any bits of action that people have got. I think I'm particularly interested today in actions, bits of actions that people have got from, how systems, services, organisations, charities, people can do things differently, as well as, some of the other kind of more personal stuff. But yeah, please share your bits of action in the chat. I think we're going to hear a little bit more about some of the stories.
Helped me explore just how much I love him and how important he is to me.
Gorgeous. I nearly forgot what I was doing then. Did you notice? Where am I? Who am I talking to? Amy's on the ball, pressing those buttons and bringing up the titles. It's great. So yeah, this is the bit of the show where we're going to watch a few minutes worth of some of the footage that we've been taking, some of the stories people from the movement have been telling us, some people watching tonight whose stories we've been listening to. So yeah, let's play the video, Hayley, and then we can have a bit of a chat.
I had nothing for myself. I was so busy working and pushing. I just started thinking, what about me? What do I want to do? My children were in London, my older children, couldn't see them. My mum, was isolating because she was on a list of taking food and leaving out the door. Just seeing her through the window was so hard. So I think, and I just started to think, what do I want to do? I want to do something for me now. I want to do what I want to do. So I actually resigned from my post. It was really scary. But I think going back into lockdown, I don't feel scared this time. I feel reassured because I've learned a lot more about myself and who I am.
When it started, I felt like it was I used to call what was happening the Great Pause. And then remember hearing about how birds were returning to areas that they hadn't been in, that the water was becoming clear, that emissions had dropped significantly in various parts of the world. It was almost like the world was just saying stop and pause. And when that pause happened, life started to reappear. It started to regenerate.
I've seen the side effects of it firsthand on other people, both the mental health aspects as well as, the actual COVID and other problems that people are getting, in terms of health. So, I think I just hope we do get back to some kind of normality in the spring, really. I think that there will come a tipping point where people just say, do you know what, we're going out because we can't live in fear.
Purpose, identity, isn't it, as well? That, the professional mask or badge or uniform or whatever we put on to go to work, it's kind of a defence, isn't it? And then we stripped all that off in the lockdown and people were having meetings in pyjamas, or at least in pyjama bottoms. And I think I don't know. Yeah, I do think it has I suppose, are we fulfilled with the purpose that we thought we were, the path that we were on, that we'd kind of, is it what we really wanted? I don't know. I think it's opened up a lot of big questions for a lot of people.
My stepdaughter who lives with me, broke her hip for the second time in January and was in hospital leading up to lockdown, and we actually discharged her about 3 days before the official lockdown came in because we didn't know what else to do. But that's meant that she's had absolutely no follow-ups. There's been no physio, there's been no OT, and actually it's had she's not weight bearing still. It's had quite a detrimental effect on people, and yet the Sky Man can come into our house and sort my Sky out, but a physio can't come in and do something that's really important. And I find that really odd. I found that really odd and really difficult to kind of get my head around.
Gosh, some fascinating insights again there. I think so many things just strike me when I listen to these stories and reflections, and the nonsense of some of it. But you can't really sort of almost point the finger at people and say, why did you do that, or you shouldn't have done that, or because it's just the world's gone topsy-turvy in a sense, and people are just doing what they can in response. But like when the Sky Man can come round, but Somebody can't.
I think I was listening to those different points though, and I got this image of a huge mountain being dropped on our lawns or front of our houses, and like everybody's got to, and this is a bit of a wonky word, navigate. It's like everybody's got to navigate and scale this huge mountain that just appeared out of nowhere, and so everybody's doing it in different ways, and individually you're trying to work out, well, what do I do? Shall I climb over it? Shall I go around it? Shall I try and dig through it? Or shall I just look at the mountain in horror? And then besides that, there's a system that's also trying to deal with it. And it's probably the biggest experiment we'll ever live through, where, it's massively unexpected. It shouldn't have been. Apparently they knew about these sort of things years ago, so it shouldn't have been really, but it was massively unexpected, I think, for individuals trying to work out, not wanting to live in fear and not wanting to feel that things don't make sense is just, it's a real human drive. We need things to make sense for us, because we feel uncomfortable and we don't feel like we can survive if we don't. So they were quite different, those responses, but they seem to tie together for me.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good analogy, a really good way of looking at it. And I think another one of the things that came through for me was that there's so many people who, in our society, in our communities, who need, support on a daily basis, just to be able to live the life that they want to be able to live, and that came across a bit in there. But the impact on the support structures, the support that's available to those people has been quite huge, and people have been cut off from support that by all counts wasn't brilliant before, but then has completely been cut off from it now. It's
you're right, and we saw this as well. And not only was it cut off, it suddenly became clear how daft it was in the first place, because it wasn't organized in the way that made sense. The fact that it could just stop like that. And so what was really going on before? Maybe we use this to our advantage and say we need to really rethink these things, not just go back to normal, as people have said, and not just restart. And we need to really, I wish we'd spent more of this time thinking about the future and how we're going to come out of this. Some people have, but I suspect some people haven't, and that's really something that I'm fascinated about, how we can, maybe a bit of action is about that. What little bits of action, and what can we do to make this a better future? Sound good?
Yeah. And we talk a lot about recovery, I think, as well. But actually, do we really want to? For a lot of people, they don't want things to go back. They don't want to recover what was before, because there has been a point at which we've had to stop and question the way things are done. And actually, can we now go on, is this about discovering something different, something new, different ways of doing things? I think, there was a lady towards the end of there talking about the professional masks that people wear, the uniforms, and, is this an opportunity to strip some of that away?
Let's get the humanity out on the table. Let's stop hiding it now. We've got nowhere to hide it. I think Hayley's sending us messages by telepathy, but I don't know what they are. I don't really understand it.
She's getting inside my mind.
Shut up, Naomi. Stop rambling. Riff raff off.
I think on that note, you better roll a title, Hayley, and tell us what's happening next.
Seems to be so random, and it affects people in such different ways.
Crazy, I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy, I've been feeling weird, I've been feeling like I've gone crazy.
We were there, we were in that zone, bit of action. So what have we got from people? Keeping the human in meetings. We've got that as a suggestion. Looking out for your neighbours more. What sorts of things? We've got along the bottom there. Don't wait for a plan or permission. Just do it. Don't wait for a plan or permission. Why do we have to plan? Framework.
So pirate. Love it.
Yeah, it's good. just do it. Yeah, well, we were chatting about this earlier, weren't we, about how organizations need to have everything written down on paper before you can actually do anything.
To prove you're spending that money correctly, to prove that you're you know what you're doing. It's like control need.
Yeah,
it's hard. I mean, individually, I find it hard to let go of control sometimes as well. But I think that's the other thing. You know, when things are so confusing and so wrong and so different, then you do have to just accept that we can't control it all, and what can we try out and do something different.
Yeah, there's a great one scrolling along the bottom now. Actually, keep the human in meetings, and it takes me back a few years to a meeting that I sat in once. It was 90 minutes long, this meeting. It was a program board. Wonky words or what? I typed solidly for 90 minutes in that meeting, and my colleague at the end of the meeting went, "Gosh, you were really into that, weren't you? You took a lot of notes." And I showed her my laptop screen and said, "Yeah, but all I've done for the last 90 minutes is write down all the words and phrases,
the wonky words,
the wonky words and phrases." I mean, literally, they just. I think my favourite phrase of the whole meeting was, "We are where we are, which is where we were."
Where we were. It's the thick of it.
And the final phrase of the meeting was, "Fridays are very thin. Fridays are always thin." I'd like to be
I wish
Friday.
I could do with thin Fridays. My Friday usually quite fat.
Yeah.
I have to just say, Kat, there's something in the chat that says there are different types of control, Naomi. I really wish this was a bit more interactive, because I'd love to know what that means. There definitely are. That's quite right, but I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, we've got another great one scrolling across, which relates back to some of the stuff we heard in the stories. Was take over a communal garden if you live near one. Guerrilla gardening. And actually, I've got to say this because Tones is watching. Pirate Tones, hi! Got a real pirate watching this tonight, everybody. He's in the chat with you. But we were talking about this actually. If there is a space, plant some flowers and bulbs in it or whatever, and then put a little sign in it that says. It's gone out of my head now, but look out for your council or something, or
please come and do my garden. Please, guerrilla
or something.
Please, guerrilla garden my garden. It's a nightmare. It's a muddy bog. I mean, I'm lucky to have a garden. I know that, but
yeah.
Please.
No, it's good. But his idea was that if you put a sign in there that has a council logo on it, people will think the council have done it. And then when it starts to go a bit overgrown or whatever, they'll ring the council and ask them to come and maintain it. It's genius.
It's so good.
Yeah, clever bit pirate. Brett says take more risk. Yeah, I think we're afraid, aren't we? A lot of the time. Afraid.
Like you said before, don't ask permission. Just say sorry, not sorry afterwards.
Yeah.
Apparently, Anthony has decided the sell-by date of this current pandemic is 17 to 24 months. That's like most of the things in my cupboard.
Brilliant.
Past the sell-by date, I should say.
Past the sell-by
date.
So
through you completely reading that out, Kat. Sorry, this is very
No,
distracting.
it's fine. Good. The comments are there in the chat. Good to engage with them. Yeah, let's move it on. Can we have the next title, please, Hayley?
Do you have a job?
Yeah, I have four.
Well.
Now telling them to shut up because I'm filming kept me sane with dog.
Hey, you! Watch the show.
Wonky words. We've had lots of wonky words already. Wonky words, wonky phrases, lots of wonkiness. Eligibility criteria, frameworks, model, thought leadership, navigate.
Don't get me started. Those are mine.
Is this your world? Is this what you have to deal with every single day?
Do you know what? I'm not even in the eligibility world. It's just anymore. But it haunts me still to this day. How can we make sure we, don't let anybody through this tiny little door and make it a bit smaller, because somebody might come who doesn't deserve it and we haven't got enough money for it. okay, let's do it different then. It's not going to work, is it? I mean, I say this as though it's really simplistic. I know it's not simplistic. I know it's massively hard. But it feels like we've been using the same approach for so long now, and it's just not working. Like working 5 days a week, that doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
Something else.
We've got outcomes framework here in the chat. I think we mentioned out frameworks earlier. Yeah. What do you think about frameworks? Outcome frameworks? Naomi?
I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about? And literally, I've actually had to help do things like that. And at the time, I just went to say, I don't really know what you mean. I don't know what I'm writing. What am I doing? What is this?
Data-driven prediction?
No, I told you not to mention data too. No, data's good. Data's fine. Information is very, very important. Very important. I think sometimes when you can't use the word data, it turns into something that we think we get out of a computer, and it's not, information, stories, really important stories, and real life experiences that they all get put into a computer and become data that you can fill an eligibility form with, when they started off as being somebody's, life story.
Highlight reports. I spent years writing.
Oh, that is. Oh, don't.
I refuse to write highlight reports.
No, that makes me feel. I feel physical pain.
Not
fill in this spreadsheet to fill that spreadsheet, and then get the highlights out and the summary, and yeah. Great use of time. And I know that even some of these things are useful, but they do make.
And we were saying earlier, sometimes the words in themselves are not wonky. It's how we use them. But we've got more beneficiary, strange times. I missed that a lot, Hayley. Sorry, too busy talking. But everybody else, you get the gist, don't you? Anyway, I think she's not sending me messages to move me on, but I feel like she probably should be doing so. Transformation, there you see. I could talk about wonky words all night.
Transformation, I'm sure that was a really good LP, but besides that.
Brilliant. I think it's probably time to move on and see what those puppets have been up to this week.
I'm also sort of just realized that how much stressed actually I've been through the period, which I wasn't aware of.
Hello. Hi. We are back, baby. Yay! Camarados are letting us back out to play for a bit of company chat. Can I come play too? Hey, sure.
Puppets can always come out to play. It is a highlight of my week, and I feel like I really should apologise to upsetting their feelings this morning and favouring Sally over the puppets, but they're all amazing. They're all amazing. And Pip, if you're listening, can you just reassure Paula in the chat that Wilson's okay? I think she was a little bit concerned and just wanted to check in and see how he was doing. So yeah, pop that one in the chat for us. Let's see what the puppets have been up to.
Ooh, look at this. I'm on the television. I'm on TV. Ooh, The Great Pause. The Great Pause. Wow.
I think people are going to struggle to go back to work and to go back to a 9-to-5 existence.
The Great Pause. The Great Pause. Hey, can you lend me $5?
Brilliant. They're a bit bonkers, those puppets. But that's great. How many ways can you do the great pause? It has me in stitches every time. But yeah, great point in the middle there about we're not going back to 9 to 5, are we? Although the flip side of that actually is that I don't know about you, but I tend to find that I'm working more because there's no escape. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go to.
It's really, it's a struggle. It's a struggle, isn't it, to kind of keep some sort of balance. It's really easy to let things flow together. And the trouble is, I'm really interested in the things that I do for a living. So I do find it really hard to separate stuff. But I think I'm lucky to be interested in what I'm doing for a living and interested in all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I feel like I've said I feel very lucky tonight a lot of times. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just in one of those appreciative moods, but
we'll do a word count afterwards.
Do a word count. Yes, please. That'd be very important. And put that into a spreadsheet, please.
Yes, we will. We'll report back to you.
A graph or something.
We'll show the evidence about how many times you've said. But yeah, no, I mean, we've had so much opportunity to stop and think and pause over the last 12 months. Can you believe it's coming up to 12 months since this all kind of really started to take hold? And how much has changed. But yeah, no, thank you, Naomi. It's been an absolute joy to speak to you tonight, have this conversation. A little bit of craziness, a bit of banter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that a wonky
It's
word?
lovely. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. So yeah, I've ditched my script. Not that I really had one anyway, and I've lost control of the private chat even. So I've no idea.
Rip up the rules.
I've ripped up the rules.
Pirate.
Now I'm just making it up, and so no, I think all that's left for me to do is to say thank you. Thank you to Hayley and Selva for keeping control of the show in the background tonight and the chat and feeding the comments. Yeah, it has been brilliant. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody who's contributed their stories. Thank you to People's Voice Media for supporting all that work. Thanks to the lottery. Thanks to Lankelly Chase. Thank you to everybody. And finally, I'd like to thank my darling children for not interrupting me during this episode of Bit of Company Chats, because that would have just been, it could have been, we're not even going to go there. We're not.
Are they taped to the wall still, or is that not? Should I not say that on it? Oh, sorry.
Gaffer tape works wonders. Anyway, thanks everybody. Any final words from you, Naomi, before we head to the outro?
Oh, I don't want to say anything that's going to ruin this wonderful episode, but it is true. You don't need to fix people. We'll sort things out together. And thanks so much. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for coming. Thanks. Bye.
Sometimes we're all a little bit pants. A not so happy day when things don't go our way. And in between the rubber, the green, the roll of the dice, the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes, almost all the time, we're all a little bit pants. A tad under par, but that's who we are. And even finding rhymes is harder than you'd think. Sometimes we're all a little bit pants. A not so happy day when things